Before we get into tonight's story, I wanted to give a quick thank you and shout out to Calhea for submitting her paranormal stories as well as her photographs. Calhea has been a subscriber as well as a friend of the channel for quite some time now. I do believe that the stories as well as the photographs are indeed genuine. I have finally decided to sit down and share some of the stories I have. I've encountered a lot of strange things over my life so far. It's hard to believe, and trust me, it's been difficult for me to make sense of. I'd like to start off by saying, I don't believe I'm special. I don't believe I'm sensitive or psychic or anything like that. It's possible I'm sensitive to the paranormal, but I'm not claiming to be. It's taken me a long time and a lot of internal wrestling with myself to decide to tell my story in a public way like this. I'm going to be very open and honest and provide my evidence, and people can take from it what they want. I'm not asking anyone to believe me. I just want to share what I went through. I love the community you have, so I feel pretty comfortable opening up about this. Every story starts somewhere, but it's difficult to decide where to begin when you have a whole life of memories, when it's actually your life. I have always been open to and interested in the paranormal. My dad would let me stay up late with him to listen to Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, on the radio, and we would talk about the possibilities of extraterrestrials. He told the stories of the green children of Woolpit and the disappearance of David Lang to me. He loved to tell me stories he heard and local ghost stories and legends. I was raised to question everything and to think for myself. I don't know when the strange things began to actually happen. I just know when I began to really take notice. I will never forget the first incident, our sink turning on, all by itself. My sister and I were playing in the kitchen and the sink began to run at full pressure, like someone had just turned it on. Our mom was confused but brushed it off. She probably thought we stood on a chair and did it and were trying to trick her. But we didn't. Luckily, that didn't scare us. It was more curious than scary. No, the fear comes a bit later. First, I would like to tell you about my photographs. For years until I was probably about school age, when my parents would take photos of me and get them developed. 90s kid here. The picture of me would always have anomalies, either orbs, strange fog, or lights, or my favorite, have the halos. I have found an episode of a television show, Paranormal Fact or Faked, that featured a girl who had these same exact halos in her photos. I believe they were indigenous to Hawaii and they believed it was a guardian angel. That's exactly what my family believes is in my photos. I'd love to explain why they believe that. I just want to warn you that this story involves miscarriage. When my mom was only a few weeks pregnant, she fell down some stairs. After trying for 2 years to get pregnant, she lost the baby. However, 3 months later, she was pregnant with me. When I was a toddler, I almost was killed in a fire, but luckily my uncle, who happened to be on leave from the army, sprung into action and saved me. I was in a wagon riding uncontrolled down a hill, heading straight for a massive bonfire. He grabbed me just before I went in. Due to the near-death experience and just the simple fact of being born, have my parents convinced that I'm being protected. I'll include the photos, although the TV show technically debunked the photo as a simple camera strap. I'll let you decide. As I got older, I began to notice more and more. Not only the pictures and the strange random occurrences, like things growing a pair of legs and walking away on their own, as my mom would say, but also feelings, and as I became a teenager, a strong sense of intuition. As a child, though, you don't understand those things really. I knew my neighbor had died before we were told. I just had a horrible, ominous feeling the whole day. I felt so sad. I didn't know that he passed away exactly, but I felt it. Eventually, we were informed of his passing, and I'll never forget the look my mom gave me. Most of the time, I knew who was calling before my mom answered the phone. It was small things, until I felt it. Whatever it was at some point, it started watching me all the time. I never felt like I was alone. I remember being absolutely terrified of looking into mirrors or out the window at night because I absolutely knew I would see something there. I didn't really want to know what, but I knew in my heart and soul if I even glanced, it would be there. Staring. Sometimes at night in the reflection of objects, we would see a pair of red eyes staring at us from the darkness. I finally just began sleeping completely under my blankets. I would be so afraid to look after I was under the covers because I knew that it was there, standing at the end of my bed or up in the corner by the ceiling, taking the form of a black, shapeless, menacing mass. I briefly collected those beautiful porcelain dolls until they would change position as I slept overnight. The ones I would keep in the box would have their heads turned somehow. I didn't collect those beautiful dolls for long. That's how I lived for 18 years, running through the dark, heart pumping, not looking back. Literally and figuratively. Even as teenagers, my friends and I wouldn't go outside in the dark. Or if we were hanging at a bonfire party, everyone always went to the bathroom in groups. Not even the adults felt comfortable walking on our property. You could feel something looking at you through the darkness, something reaching for your back constantly. Sometimes my dad would get so anxious, out of nowhere he would just have to hide and let himself have a panic attack. I overheard him talking to my mom about how he didn't want to have to go into medication because in his mind, everything was fine. Just sometimes he got an overwhelming sense of doom. Eventually my mom stopped sleeping at night. Then they began to argue all the time. The energy in the house was always so heavy. She never would talk to me about what was going on, and until the day we moved out, downplayed everything. The day we moved out though, she finally broke down and admitted something was never quite right about the home and the property we lived on. For a full week leading up to the demolition of the property, there was a very loud and persistent knocking inside the walls of my bedroom. It didn't sound random, like an animal. It was a very clear, distinct, loud knock that would happen for hours every day. We even pinpointed the spot it was coming from and felt no vibrations or anything that would indicate something was actually physically there knocking. It was the most obvious seeming thing, but none of us would accept at the time it was paranormal. Until the day my parents tore down the house and found no animal, no broken pipes, or even any pipes in that wall. No explanation. As an adult, I've experienced a lot more obvious paranormal phenomena. Some more believable than others. My tarot cards flying off the shelf, doors flying open and slamming shut, a devil mask that I do not own shoved into the sleeve of my coat, feeling a scratching and then seeing an unexplainable mark on my body. Once I found a handprint way up on my wall. It looked like ash. The fingers were inhumanely long. I could go on and on. Maybe someday I will. I do want to let you know that my parents are doing better since they left the property. My dad hasn't had a panic attack since, and my parents rarely fight, and are going on to celebrate their 30th wedding anniversary soon. However, whatever was living with us seemed to follow me for a very long time. If it's something people are interested in, I will share what my adult life was like for a while with whatever it was that followed me. For now, thanks for listening and giving me a place to share my experience. Take care. Spookily, Calhea.